Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Thank you for joining us this morning. Do I hear me well?
Yep.
Excellent. So we're happy to greet you this morning at the launch event of Hessen Digital Health Ecosystem, Health4All. We are streaming from Tech Quartier, Frankfurt, state of Hessen, Germany. I'm Natalia Korchakova-Heeb, Managing Director of SDG 17 Consulting GmbH and organizer of this event. And some housekeeping issues before we start. Please mute yourself. And ideally, when the presentation will start, switch the video. The speakers will be taking up to 2 questions after their presentation, so please write your questions in the chat. And at the end of our presentation, we will have a longer session with Q&A. You could, the presentations will be recorded at the very, and then will be available at the website of G17 Consulting GmbH. So we have very distinguished guests today from Germany and from other countries. And I would like to invite our speakers to shortly introduce themselves, to greet the audience, and happy to pass the further moderation to Andy Bleeder from European Connected Health Alliance. Andy, the floor is yours.
Well, good morning and welcome everybody. And a big welcome for an exciting event today, which is the launch of our Health4All ecosystem. I'm just introduce myself. My name is Andy Bleeden. I'm the director for all our ecosystems membership at the European Connected Health Alliance. I should tell you more about me shortly, but I'd like to hand over, please, and introduce introduce the rest of the speakers to pop on and say hello and introduce themselves, starting with Gisela.
Hello, good morning, everybody. I'm Gisela Garcia. I'm the Managing Director of the Galician Health Cluster, which is also the coordinator of the Galician Ecosystem for ECH Alliance. Okay. And AC can continue.
Thanks, Gisela. Thanks, Andy. Hi, I'm Dr. Ananshu Chatterjee, Associate Professor for Digital Health and Education at University of Plymouth, and coordinator for the Southwest Interdisciplinary Technology Consortium for Health and Care here in the southwest of England.
England always looks like that, by the way, for anybody who wants
exactly. And if I just move on, I can get a bit of sun as well. I believe that.
You've only got the light on. Alexia.
Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alexia Tsukoin. I am managing the Health Region Cologne-Bonn, which is an association and a limited company, and I'm also head of a small associated research institute, the Gavi Institute for Healthcare Studies.
Okay, thank you. Yvonne?
Okay, hello everyone. I'm very happy to speak to you today. My name is Yvonne Dauer. I'm from the Medical Valley Association in the metropolitan region of Nuremberg. And I'm responsible for public relations and communications. Yeah, and I'm very happy to introduce to you the ecosystem of Medical Valley.
Thank you for that, Yvonne. Lucas?
Yeah, welcome also from my side. My name is Lucas. I'm the head of innovation products at Tech Quartier, one of the biggest innovation hubs here directly from Frankfurt. I'm sitting with Natalia, and I'm happy to be here at the event. I'm looking forward to great speakers and a great event and a great launch. Thank you.
Wonderful. And Nico?
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Nico. I'm CEO and co-founder of Tech4Med. Tech4Med is a young technology startup based out of Darmstadt, close to Frankfurt. We are closely connected to the community here, and I'm happy to speak today.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that. I'm going to make a small request for all the people who are joining us now. If you pop into the little chat function at the bottom of the screen, just about there, and you write down who you are and where you're from, that'd be really helpful. Just gives us an idea of who's here, and we can then hopefully start connecting up the dots, which is what this session's about. I'm going to take the floor now, if that's possible, and show a small presentation. The reason behind this is to give you an idea about what ecosystems are, because we use the term quite loosely in many ways now, especially in health, where we've never done before, but also a little bit about the European Connected Health Alliance and the way in which we can connect up the dots in digital health, as our role is as the global connector. But before I start, this is an important day, as I said at the beginning of this meeting, because it's the launch of the ecosystem, health ecosystem for all, Health for All in Hesse, coming from Frankfurt, as Natalia said. It's important because obviously this is during the presidency of, or German presidency of the European Council, which is important and worth noting. And I'll come on to that a bit more soon, but a little bit about us first. The European Connected Health Alliance, we're a member organisation, a not-for-profit based in both Dublin and in the UK as well. So we've got a European and a UK arm, very important considering all the politics. We can think about politics at such a dreadful time at the moment. We're a member organisation focusing on health with many organisations as members. So we encourage membership from both policy groups, municipalities, ministries, economic development organisations, large, small companies, SMEs, startups, universities, academia, health professionals, social care professionals, insurers and funders, the whole range. And there has to be a reason why we do that, is because we want to work with and provide services for our members. But the background to who we are is that we're the global connector. We work across the globe, and I'll show you some examples of that in a moment. And we work to connect up those people who are involved with either health or social care. We've got a global reach across over 78 countries, pushing on 80 countries now, and a range or reach of 4.6 billion people. Next month, we will be launching our 50th ecosystem, and that will be in India with a population of 1.3 billion. So things are getting a little bit big, which is exciting. But we've got an international network of digital health ecosystems. And we work with that network, with our members, to do what we're doing today, to bring people together. Our members join us for the following reasons. I won't read this out. I'm not here to talk about membership so much today, but they join us primarily to promote their organizations, access other ecosystems and make direct connections. And for the vast majority of our members, most of which are not-for-profit organizations, that's a good way to grow their network. They also get involved to get to start looking at funding and accessing events, etc. But our actual product as such are ecosystems, as we are in one today. So let's clear up what ecosystems are about. First off, they are permanent, geographically based. So this is focusing on the Hesse region. They're multi-stakeholder. So all of those people you can see in the diagram in front of you are involved with the ecosystem. That's why I've asked to see if you could put in the chat function who you are and where you're from. But the idea is that all of the stakeholders are present. So there's no barrier on private participation or public, etc. All of them. The key crucial element is that it involves citizens and patient groups. Ecosystems are there to do three things, okay? They break down the silos that we know exist in health and social care. By silos, these are groups of organizations that don't talk to each other, don't share information, don't collaborate, and don't listen, unfortunately. And this is bad now in health and social care as it was when I first started in 1990. In fact, because of these awful things, it's getting worse because people assume more. Hopefully you can still see my presentation even with the poll that's gone up. I hope so. Nod at Natalia if that's possible. Yeah, good. They also exist to transform health and social care. So it's not just a talking shop. This is actually to do stuff. And if you're not doing stuff, you're just talking about it, is what I always say. But the other thing to get that's quite important is that we also are looking to create economic opportunity, because for each of the countries that you'll see in a moment, and pretty much every country except for the bad guys with the big hats and the tank displays, each country spends more on health and social care than they do on anything else. And that's an important economic opportunity as much as people see it as an economic burden. All our ecosystems that we have are different. They're based on a geographical area, but they all have priorities that are local. Okay, so the Hess ecosystem is as different as the other ecosystems you're going to see today. However, the things you see in bold in front of you are what join us up, what link us up, because we are an international network. So they should be free to attend, because otherwise patient groups won't turn up. They should be like governance. So hopefully we don't see minutes and any of that nonsense you get at meetings that are too formal. But they should also lead with a need. And by that, that's about asking people, what's the need in the specific area we're concentrating on, around dementia or diabetes? Not what the shiny solution is, but what's the need first for carers, people with a diagnosis, or healthcare professionals? Because patients should be at the center of every single ecosystem. Our ecosystem network is large and evolving. So just recently, we've just opened up a Chilean and a Brazilian ecosystem to add to the other network of ecosystems you can see in front of you there. What's important to see is that's a breadth that stretches from Argentina all the way around the globe, the long way around to Australia. That gives us an enormous wealth to be able to collaborate and learn from best practice. As I've said, our network's growing. We've got a very large collection in Finland, and they formed a network of ecosystems in Finland. And we're looking to replicate that this year with the ecosystems that are here today, from Rhine-and-Bonn, from Erlangen region, and also from Hesse as well. But we're also inviting in, and I can see some of them here at this ecosystem today, representatives from other health clusters across Germany, because to have that network of ecosystems helps break down the silos within a country as much as it does internationally. And we see that in Spain, Finland, and also in the UK, and hopefully we're going to see that in Germany. So you can see that the range of ecosystems we have, they're range in size from being quite small, but very, very active in Transylvania, in Romania, with our Cluj-Napoca-based ecosystem, led by an organization called Fresh Blood in the land of Dracula, which I think is quite funny, to our soon-to-launch Indian ecosystem, which covers the whole of a country of 1.3 billion people and growing. So we're a very different group. We've got 9 ecosystems, for instance, within the UK. We've got a large contingent, certainly in Finland. But today, it's about Hess. The reason Hess joined our international network for ecosystems is there in front of you, because it's around being able to gain access and internationalize good digital solutions and products from your region to the rest of our network. It's also being able to bring in the best practice from Spain, or from Plymouth, or from other parts of Germany. Because the silos I talk about are there because people sometimes will rather cross continents to get best practice than speak to their neighbours. And that's a practice we try and break down with our ecosystem network. So it's about trying to connect up the dots. How we do that is quite easy. For instance, we've got here today a Galician ecosystem, and they worked with us to make direct connections with our ecosystem in Slovenia, in Serbia, and in the Netherlands, and take both procurers and innovators to and from those different ecosystems to collaborate. And that's what we do. And that in a nutshell is how we get our ecosystems to collaborate. That's why they're here today. But an example of this is, and I'll just throw this in quickly, one of our members is an organization called Orca. As you can see, they've got a global presence that's growing. They're a digital health app assessment organization. Very important, especially in Germany, because you've got with the DIGA route, probably a first attempt really to start using health apps on prescription. And we've got an organization here, it's got a great big range across several countries. You can see they serve 40+ million people, but their global reach across those 3 continents means they can use our ecosystem network to internationalize. Okay, so they're already working across Denmark and Estonia and Finland, where we already have ecosystem. They're in Iceland and Israel and in the Netherlands, where we have an ecosystem. What they do is use our connections, our ecosystem network, to help them internationalize, to make those connections. So that's an example of how it works for us and for organizations like Orca. So we'll be seeing more about those in the future, I think. But you can see that they will then use that network to move around, make connections, etc. We also get involved with European funded programs, for involved with Horizon 2020 and Erasmus Plus programs. And those are projects, all of those projects you see in front of us include either our ecosystems or our members. So that's important. We also provide funding support. But that's enough about us for now. I want to give you some practical examples, of how things actually work in ecosystems. So I'm going to hand over in a moment to Giselle. I'm not so sure because I've got this poll in front of me. If we've got any questions first. Let me have a look. Doop-a-doo. So I'm going to stop my share and I'm going to look at that. Have we got any questions? I don't think so for now. No. Without further delay, I'm going to hand over to our colleague from the Galician ecosystem, one of our top ecosystems, the one we always talk about in Spain, and hand over to Gisela. Gisela, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. So good morning, everybody again. So as I mentioned, I'm for the ones that joined recently, I'm Gisela Garcia, the Managing Director of the Galician Health Cluster, which also coordinates the Galician Ecosystem for ECH Alliance network. We are a classical ecosystem for ECH Alliance, so we really check all the boxes for how an ecosystem should be, meaning that we really have a keen perspective of considering ecosystem valid only when we have the regulators, the providers, and the users, the patient associations and users in general, working together. So first, I will of course like to thank Andy for putting us in contact with Natalia, and Natalia for gratefully inviting us to present our ecosystem here. And we will be very, very happy to encourage you to start off great this ecosystem, and call us whenever you want to collaborate or get to know a bit Galicia. So before, since we cannot travel for the moment due to COVID, I will explain you a few numbers and facts important about Galicia that I hope will put our region into perspective of being a region of opportunities in collaboration in healthcare and social care. So for whoever doesn't know where Galicia is still, it's really at the east of Spain, on top of Portugal. And one of the interesting points of, I would say that we can make it positive of Spain is that we are divided in 17 autonomous regions, which makes the healthcare and social care systems organized in a very independent way, regulation-wise, regulatory-wise, and also economic-wise. So our healthcare system represents a 7.8% of the regional GDP. We have a population of only 2.7 million, which may be very little for some, lot for other countries, but that has made us have the need to move around and to really collaborate externally. The curious part of this, and which will define one of our needs, as Andy mentioned, is that 25% of our population is over 65 years old. So we do have the percentages expected for the rest of Europe in 2030. So we are advanced in that 10 years. We invest quite a bit of money, as of course, again, Andy highlighted, is true. We do spend a lot of our budget in healthcare and social care. And we have one of a funding scheme that I find it very, very interesting, and is that we invest a lot in public procurement of innovation, more than 150 million in the last 5 years and 10 years, sorry, and it represents the 40% of the public procurement budget is running, of Spain is running Galicia. So that's an important point for public procurement in healthcare especially. We are the gateway to Latin America for language-wise also, but also because Galician population has been famous for being very, having to migrate a lot, and it's one of the poorest regions in Spain. Now it's picking up and kind of equilibrating, but that means that a lot of Galicians have gone abroad, so that also improves the connection later on. We are in the Atlantic corridor, and of course we have a lot of collaborative projects in that, and also the Portuguese market, because we also share the same kind of same language. Similar language. I don't want to say the same language, so if there's any Portuguese, don't get mad. We do have external harbors and one free trade zone, sorry, and we have more than 5,000 foreign companies in Galicia. So what is the Galician health cluster? So we do have a really keen main objective of impacting healthcare and social care through innovation. So we're really about supporting innovation in health and social care. We were established in 2011. We have more than 80 members now. We are over 100, in fact, and we move a bit of money around, and we are present in 100 countries. Being divided more or less in 4 sectors: healthcare, food tech, health tech, and support, that I will explain later on. But our 4 pillars are really equally important, that we believe in the channel of communication between regulators, users, and in between has to be the companies, the providers, the industry. Then we believe in a co-creation, in that, of course, all these key opinion leaders participate in creating the solutions. Within cooperation, not only regional, but national and international. That is a very, very strong strategic action that we're doing since 2016. And then it is very important to communicate, to empathize, to this pride of belonging to the ecosystem, and understanding that you are part of it is really, really important for us. So basically, our cluster, the Galician Health Cluster, is a cluster of people for people. So how did we walk the way? It was not as easy as it said in 15 minutes of a talk. Of course, it took time, and we did a bunch of mistakes in between, and we're still doing, but the important thing is that we learn a bit. And also, what maybe works today doesn't work tomorrow, especially we've seen that with COVID, that has challenged everybody to reinvent themselves. So we are the same. We were born in September 2011. The idea was 15 funding members were to join together, pushed really by the Galician regional health ministry, because they wanted to know what was outside, what was the industry trend, and what was really to know the industry. And so they got together, and it was more getting together for tenders. But in 2012, 2016, we start growing, and there was a bit more of regional collaboration. And by the end of 2015, we joined ECH Alliance. The difference of the 2 colors is on purpose, because I think the one important thing that I recommend for any ecosystem is to really create a team, an internal team, because up to September 2016, it was all the activity was externalized. And it's important that really the team feels the cluster or the ecosystem and really wants to lead it. So in end of 2016, the team was internal team of ECSG was built. There was a kickoff of Forum Ries, which is our main visibility showcase event of the year that we do in collaboration with ECH Alliance. And we started really organizing the cluster, which may seem very heterogeneous for our members, into value chains and demonstrating we can collaborate between us. In 2018-19, we have a change in the directive board, and that really pushed everything speedily. We have startups and social care SMEs joining. That was a key point for us because it really responds to our main need, which is social care and an aging population. We were involved in EU projects, several of them. We really bet for strategic international and national alliances. We started a learning expedition. That's what Andy pointed out. We really go out in study trips. The idea is to be from local to global to local. This is what we do in Galicia. We respond to global challenges because we believe that the challenges are global, but we think it can be solved with local agreements and arrangements within different regions. And we also want to attract people to get to know Galicia and invest in Galicia and enter into a health and social care system if they have the solution. They are very welcome. We started a network of Living Lab. And in 2019, we were also invited to join other networks, other international networks like TEAM. Then the National Health Cluster we joined together from Spain. And we were also leading now the Digital Innovation Data Life Health value chain. So in 2020, despite COVID, our dreams were to grow, which we did. We are now 4 people. We focus especially in communication and internationalization. And for that, we need more people because up to now it was only me with the directive board, despite they're very active. They're of course involved in other, their own companies. We have a new strategic plan, adapting ourselves to the new context. A service catalog, putting a bit more order what we do and how much it costs and how much is the feedback to the members. That is very important. Collaboration framework agreements, we've signed quite a bit lately, but really focus on specific actions. That we don't like to sign papers, we like to sign actions, so that is very important. And we kick off the Living Lab network at international level, especially with Portugal. We work on sustainability and corporate social responsibility projects, and we are more than 100 now, and we've been involved now in Horizon 2020 projects. So as I mentioned, we are dividing these value chains. What we do really, we integrate services into market intelligence, matchmaking, project development, of course, identification of funding resources, which is something very important for our companies. And then usually in the European projects, we have a part of not only communication and dissemination, but also technological transfer. We started with membership fees, but we've been evolving into regional, national, EU funding programs, strategic collaboration frameworks that also give some feed services that we do. We have a basic service networking and others that we do for the general fee, but of course we have other more specific services, more tailored services, and then we are now involved with the government in public-private collaboration. So key achievement that I would like to summarize maybe. So communication is very, very important, especially in COVID times. I'm sure all of your entities and organizations have been keen on that. We have been together with the whole ecosystem, not only, so when we work for the ecosystem, we don't only work for our members, but we work for the whole ecosystem. And we have really arranged all the protective personal equipment. We've been updating the people, and especially we've been trying to be in a very positive perspective, really keeping supporting innovation projects as a way to continue up on the surface. We have 4 different types of communication. We have our weekly communication with our directive board, so they're really kicking in on what is ongoing in a very fast flash to our members and the patient associations and senior nursing homes. So another key achievement would be the LEX. We call it LEX Learning Expeditions. We like sexy names. We like to put the nice, catchy names. To the government, you have to say study trips. So they're a bit special. We don't do commercial business trips. We are more really trying to bring the whole innovation outside and attracting innovation inside in a very, very consortium way. So we would go the whole delegation with public representatives, normally from the 3 ministries, or at least 2 ministries that we are closely working with, which is the healthcare, the industry and economic, and social care. And we go with industries as well, with private companies, and we go with patient association. We've 2019, as I mentioned, was a really, really good year for this. We went to Israel, China came, the Chinese delegation came, Slovenia, Serbia. We also went to Poland and Netherlands, and in between little trips here and there but only maybe members of CSG, of the cluster itself. But all these that I mentioned have been done under a regional program that really funds this, and it funds the intermediate organisms that they call the cluster to really help the industry join these projects and be able to make a trip for example, Netherlands was 150 euros for the company. So that was really, really a gift. We visit, we have meetings all together, and we have an agenda that is kind of reflects of interest. So we will join with regulators and see how their innovation programs are. We will join with, of course, companies and patients associations, and we will usually pick a theme or different themes of interest depending on the delegation itself. So another key achievement that we've been recognized for and called for is we have a health system which is very integrated and interoperability, and it is within their digital health solutions. We are trying to join now the social care system, but it's getting there. So that means that we have not only an electronic health record, totally including all the results, imaging and lab pathology, etc., but we also have interoperability with the IoT, big data processes, human resources of all the social care system, and of course economic resources such as logistics of materials, etc., all together. I think one of the two key points that why this has been possible in Galicia is because of an aligned funding with e-health strategy. So money is given really to push this innovation in e-health strategy, and also we have the same government that has been re-elected for 16 years now. So that gives stability to be able to run the same program. So here you can see from 2012 to 2020, all around has been really incorporating a lot of public procurement and innovation plans, programs that has given us really block of money to really push this innovation ahead, especially in telemedicine. So examples of this, what has this funded? The program of eSaude, which is our personal patient portal, where you can access your electronic health record. You can also see who has accessed it, and there's quite a few citizens on board. This is also because we have not only an old population, aging population, but also very rural and dispersed. So this is challenging. Another one is Telea, which is a multi-patient, multi-professional, multi-pathology telemonitoring platform for clinical patients. And this has been set up as well for COVID to be able to make the triage when patients arrived in A&E or even directly from the residence. And a third example would be ActiveAge, which is led by Spain, by Galicia in particular, and is a large-scale pilot for integrated care, and this is more focused into senior. So it's really a senior population connected to this platform, and also monitor through this platform. This is ongoing, and it's in the recruitment phase. I don't know if I was just trying to keep in time, but I just want to thank you for listening, and I will just a small promo of our cluster. I would invite you, one nice thing to kick off knowing each other better is to participate in the RIES, in this forum. It stands for International Challenges of the Health Ecosystem. And we are doing a hybrid meeting, as it's fashion now in COVID times, in which we are going to pre-record some of the material, and we will be online with the speakers later on in October. So I will hope that it's about food and quality of life, but as you can see, we are very much into technology, toxicology, food safety, and hospital and nursing homes, healthy food. So I welcome you to participate, and I can take any questions that they're on. I'm gonna minimize my screen and stop sharing so I can see.
Okay, thank you for that. I don't think there's any questions in the chat function. Obviously, your presentation came across very, very clear. And with that, I'm delighted to hand over the presentation now to Dr. Arunangsu Chatterjee from the University of Plymouth, who's going to bring in a connected example now, because of the, and you'll see why, from what Gisela and AC have said, of how they already are only 1 year old and already starting to connect up the dots. So AC, over to you.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Gisela. And thanks, Natalia, for this invite and an opportunity to contribute to the event, a launch event. As Andy said, this would be a very contrasting example to what Gisela explained in terms of their journey, 10-year journey nearly, to our 1 hour journey in terms of when we started, what we're doing, and how we're utilizing the alliance to connect the dots and sort of try and achieve similar goals in the digital and e-health space to improve health and well-being. So just as I introduced, I'm Dr. Arunangsu Chatterjee, everybody also known as AC. Everybody calls me AC. It's just easier to remember. I'm the coordinator for the consortium now and in the Southwest, and it is an expanding network. So a year back, we realized that we were doing some of the sort of stuff that an ecosystem should be doing, activities and sort of work. And we got in touch with ECH Alliance through a conference and got into forming it and launching it last year. So what did we do, and sort of why we started this? And the drivers would sort of resonate with most of the participants in this call, and what you would hear most likely is we know that there is a huge population sort of growth in terms of over 65s over the next 20 to 30 years, and there is an urgent need to start responding to that challenge. And this is sort of represented across a lot of policy documents and individual contexts within the various ecosystems that's across the alliances. In the UK as well, and specifically in the Southwest, where we are from the Southwest of England, we have similar challenges in terms of increased demand and a limited amount of supply, because it's impossible to manage the demand with what we have in terms of supply of professionals and current ways of working, where technology does offer a lot of solutions to optimize those workflows and pathways and sort of improve efficiencies. We are not necessarily harnessing them in the way we should. And Andy and Gisela both sort of spoke about some of those challenges in doing so. How do we break down these silos? How do we bring in new innovation in this particular space? Again, this has been reflecting in the countries, because we're from England and in the UK, in terms of what the policy is trying to explain. We're trying to bring health and care together using technology to support that. And there was in the policy terms a desire back in 2014 to personalize healthcare by 2020, and it is moving, but it is moving rather slowly. And I think the one of few of the sort of main reasons around this is, again, innovations not being scaled up rapidly, not being agile, slow adoption rates, budgets not following necessarily the policy objectives. And then more sort of regionally speaking, so beyond urban region, locally what we found is, and again, this would resonate across a lot of areas in your individual countries across Europe. Rural regions, aging society, and significantly deterioration in productivity because of migration from rural to urban regions. This is when we launched our ecosystem last year. COVID has significantly impacted, and I think positively, in some of those areas. So this gives us a very good opportunity to harness on some of those challenges where actually remoteness and ruralness is not anymore a barrier, and adoption rates from among the population has seen a significant increase. So we thought that we need to scale up what we were doing very locally in Cornwall to start with across a few projects. And what I would like to do is take a very, very quick ride in terms of where our journey started and where we are in terms of conceptualization, what we mean by switch. So really we are located in the southwest of England, but even though there is a sort of defined region, we are trying to include as much of this region as possible because there needs to be a critical mass in order to sustain an ecosystem. If there are not enough stakeholders in the region, a bit of movement within the ecosystem will collapse it. So we really want to break down the silos at a sort of micro as well as a macro level. What we want to do is not different from what everybody else is doing across in this space, where we are trying to reverse the phenomenon of centralized and top-down innovation to a very sort of bottom-up led innovation, which is a bit decentralized. And the way we are approaching is, again, will sort of resonate with all the other ecosystems, where we are trying to put the patients and public at the center of any digital or any healthcare innovation, bringing these four actors in. So it's very important in if you look at the triple helix model of innovation, and this is sort of expanding it a bit more, bringing in the quadruple helix innovation, where we need to have business actors, healthcare workers, academic and research individuals, and the funding bodies all working in synchronicity, but absolutely with the patient and public in the center of it. And these are the sort of activities we are helping to facilitate in the region, which again you would find in similar sort of activities in your region. The intent being is that a careful orchestration of those activities and coordinating it in a synchronous way should allow us not only to achieve models of care which help us address some of the challenges that we are anticipating by 2050 and beyond, but also give a boost to the local productivity and new entrepreneurial talents, enabling regional growth and sort of building capacity and capability in the region, but help us better mobilize the resource or the limited resource that each of us have in our individual areas. And again, these are sort of some representation of the local stakeholders that we are involving and keen to expand and involve further in the region, where we'll keep the patient bodies in the center and use the alliance, as you would say, to import international products, national products beyond the region, which are highly successful to improve health and care locally, but also homegrown innovations. We are looking to export them to those markets where there is a need. So I think Alliance works very well in this sense and try and map those individual projects. We have a few sort of funded projects that are kickstarting that process, but we are nowhere near in where Calithia is in terms of setting up an organization and resourcing it. We are very much in the first year of the journey. I saw that they took 5 years to reach where they are there to set up a formal organization. I think learning from their experience and shared experience with other ecosystems will get there quicker, and we are seeking sort of continued advice and guidance from Alliance and their directors to help set a structure that would sustain. Some of examples of projects that we are doing in terms of bringing global innovation locally here, and you would see a couple of examples later, which shows where the Alliance played a role. In this case, we had a huge sort of rollout of Alexa devices because of the rural and aging society. We realized that technologies and the interaction with technologies is a big barrier for the aging population. Voice seems to be the easiest way to interact with technology. In conjunction with the local council, Amazon, and Amazon sort of collaborators, we rolled this project out and are expanding the skill base and capacity. So any voice-related applications that integrate with health records or other clinical applications are very welcome in the region, because we are trying to improve the rollout in this. So again, we are looking forward partnerships nationally, internationally in voice and AI in this particular space. The other sort of key area that we are trying to build on is robotics and social robotics specifically. This is where we found the Alliance very useful. We are looking for international trials, and Alliance members, we kind of put us in touch with the colleague in Dublin in Ireland, and we, for the first time, what we did, we started the trial of a robot that they built. So this was the first UK trial, and we were looking at some of these particular aspects in a care home in Cornwall, and you could see a nice bingo session and a dance session going on there. It was a very successful trial, but something where again, yeah, the Alliance was absolutely instrumental. What we are doing differently, or we are at least trying to do a bit more systematically now, is map our network. And this is where we are looking at all those 4 stakeholders, being sort of industry, academia, research, funding bodies, patient care organizations, and the healthcare network, is how they're represented and connected in our region. So we have mapped a baseline, and the role of, the way we see our role and in terms of devolved role from the Alliance, is to ensure that we connect the right people at the right stage of and maturity of their product. And this is how we are doing it. We are going to soon publish a paper around this, and hopefully through the Alliance we'll share this before Christmas in terms of how we have achieved this. But I think this is a particularly interesting way to explore how do you sustain innovation ecosystem within a region, and sort of provide a gateway for national and international stakeholders to engage in. So to summarize, really what we are hoping to do is mobilize knowledge, improve adoption of technologies, and significantly increase capability and capacity in the region across those 3 areas, specifically in the Southwest. Robotics, AI, voice technologies, and telemedicine, because that sort of tries and overcomes some of the challenges that I mentioned earlier in terms of aging population, rurality, and remoteness of the region. Again, I'm pretty sure that there will be quite a range of innovations and technologies that we are not aware of. A couple of examples that do come to my mind, which I have not added to this, is of a shared sort of learning expedition with Galicia. We are now in a stage where we are close to having a collaborative agreement with the Gisela and her ecosystem, and we're looking at some of the mature products in their ecosystem and trying to see if we can create a pathway for them to bring it into the UK market through the Southwest testbed. That is through Switch. We also did similar trials with Finnish and Swedish companies, where we did small trials with intelligent patient flow monitoring systems with a few GP practices, and now they have a year-long pilot with a bunch of practices in the Southwest. So what we're really trying to do is facilitate those discussions, bringing in products externally, as well as trying to take some of our local grown innovation externally. These are sort of some of the key achievements that we are pretty proud of over the really short period of time that we have been active, and we are still sort of going strong despite COVID. And lastly, to end on that, we are switched on. We have been switched on last year, and we are still going on, and we welcome your interest and opportunity to collaborate in the Southwest through the Alliance, through other ecosystems. And I'm sure if you get in touch with Andy, myself, or even Gisela, we are working collaboratively. We have broken down our silo, at least in some respect, and we'll try to build upon that. Thank you. I'll stop there, and I'm pretty sure Andy will be kindly helping me to hand it over to Alexia so that you can hear a bit more about what is happening locally in the country. Any questions?
Alexia, the floor is yours. Thanks for that, AC. Brilliant example. Now for a local example from the Rhineland-Bonn region, our first German ecosystem. And of course, I have to say, the best.
Well, I hope I'll I'll honor that position.
You paid me for saying that, but I just need to say that. Over to you, Alexia.
Yes, I hope you can hear me all right and you can see my slides. Otherwise, just shout. So, hello everyone. My name is Alexia Tsukoin, as I said before, and I'm very happy to be here today. And especially coming next to Gisela and AC with such great ecosystems with a lot of history and so many projects as well. What I meant to do is to introduce to you the Health Region Cologne-Bonn / ecosystem Rhineland, and I will do that by going a bit we're starting with a chronology, and this is the chronology of the European Connected Health Alliance ecosystem Rhineland. Since this is what we're here for today. So it started not that long ago. It started 2.5 years ago, or maybe let's go 6 months before that. It was the summer of 2017 when I realized that there was no German ecosystem, and I thought that that just couldn't be possible. So I wrote to Brian and Damien and I said, well, look, we had met before, and so we are an association, and I'll come back to that in a minute. We are basically an ecosystem. Wouldn't that make a lot of sense? And so they informed me that there were actually already talks about having the coordination of an ecosystem Rhineland in Cologne. And those first talks were actually taking place with the local Chamber of Commerce and the Digital Hub Cologne. So they kicked off with the first ecosystem in Germany in January 2018. They had a kickoff launch as we're having today, and as of March of that year, we joined in organizing and in having and being the liaison persons for the ecosystem Rhineland for the Alliance colleagues. And what we've been doing since then is a series of ecosystem meetings that we very often bring together with our own meetings, and I will come back to that in the next slide. So what we did is a couple of strategic meetings trying to analyze what is happening in the region and what the need of our contacts and the stakeholders here in the region is, what type of topics are of greatest interest for the actors in the region. So the first thematic events that we had were on care and digitalization, as well as on there was a few on data, digitalization and data, what to do with data in the hospital, and so on and so forth. This year, I participated in a pop-up event that we had at the beginning of the lockdown, and so we were looking at the first reactions to COVID in the region, and how in as much that were the actors here in the region have been involved. What is ecosystem Rhineland? And so this is where we really want to differentiate. It started, as I said, with that, with my idea of having our association, the Health Region Cologne-Bonn, the contact person for the ecosystem Rhineland and the ecosystem network, because as I said, we are already kind of an ecosystem ourselves. We've been established for 10 years and we come together and the founding members were representative of all those stakeholder groups, of the public bodies, of regional authorities, of private companies, university hospitals, and we've got 2 in that geographical area, research institutions, so the biggest university here in the region as well as other networks and umbrella organizations that again are, for example, we are one of them that I was in touch with last week because of a governmental initiative trying to look at bio IT. So we are a member of a network called BioRiver, and also this is a lot of bio IT organizations. And again, they are a member in our network. So there's a lot of this network membership, and this is also the reason why we went to the European Connected Health Alliance, because we've learned that cooperating with other networks is of great richness. So this is our association, as I said, 10 years old, and what we do and the way we function is pretty much, I mean, it's not pretty much, it's 100% bottom up, because that's the story of how the Health Region Cologne-Bonn came together. It was a bunch of private companies, as I said, from medtech, from pharma, the university hospitals and the local authorities that said, we don't know each other well enough. We know, a pharma company might know another pharma company and a medtech might know other medtechs, but it's sometimes when we want to do a project, a study, a clinical trial, we find it difficult or find funding for a new idea. We find it very difficult to reach out to people that are not in the vertical line of or the branch that we used to. And so that's how the whole Health Region Cologne-Bonn came together, in saying we want to network across the whole sector. We want to have ties across the whole sector. And so that's how they came together. And this is still how we function today. So we have our General Assembly of 130 members, and actually at the moment it's almost 140. They come together once a year. They tell, we poll them regularly. What are the topics that are of interest to you? What is it that you want to discuss? And so they give the power to the board, which is obviously a chairperson and at the moment 16 members of the board, to then figure out to what extent we will then push into one topic or the other. And actually the topics themselves, or the headlines, haven't really changed in 10 years. All our members are very much interested in patient-centric care. This is always like the #1 starting point. Coming together with personalized medicine, innovative medicine, and then obviously this now brings us to digitalization, digital health, and integrated care. Since this is like the utmost goal, is to have a better care and health services provided to the individuals, we believe that integrated care is the path to do that. We have a small office with 7 staff, and as I mentioned in my very first introduction of my person, we are a 3-tiered structure. So we've got the association. I'm looking at that middle. The middle piece of my triangle here. We've got the association of members, of the 130 members. We've got a project company that, for example, applies for project or takes part to projects. And we've got an associated research institute that I'm also the head of. And this leads us to coming into other types of projects. And so this is why it's so linked. So this is the basis of the ecosystem Rhineland, but it's not limited. So the ecosystem Rhineland is more than the Health Region Cologne-Bonn. I added that slide to give you an example of the type of project that the Health Region Cologne-Bonn, that the limited company is doing. It's what we have in Germany. It's an Innovationsfonds project, so it's financed by federal means. And it's very much aimed at looking into innovative, like non-existent forms of health and care. So it's basically for the non-German participants to the Zoom call, it's very much forcing you to think outside the box and say, where do you find any type of mismanaged care or care that is not solved, a care problem that is not solved by the regular health and care services, and that is not part of the reimbursement system. And when you identify that and you can actually prove that it is a missing link, or it is a need in the provision of the health and care services, you can then come up with a project, and they will actually, for a limited period of time, reimburse that innovative form of care that you invented and see if it works. And if you can prove that it works, obviously you have to provide evaluation that it is of value, that you then provide better quality of care, and that your patients are better cared of, live longer, show fewer signs of, for example, rehospitalization. Then you have a point, and then they will then take it into what they call Regelversorgung, so in the usual care services, health and care services that are reimbursed in our system. So we have one of those projects, Oberberg, sorry, there's a spelling mistake. It's which is a rural area just outside Cologne, with a typical image of what a rural area is like in Europe at the moment. So you've got obviously more elderly, more older individuals living there because the young individuals have left to find jobs elsewhere. Similarly, you don't have enough care and medical staff. And obviously, so I mean, and in Germany, on top of that, you've got very poor IT infrastructure. So we're looking at how, within that setting, in that complicated setting, how to provide integrated care for older individuals suffering from multimorbidity. So that's a very exciting project which has taken place. It started just last year, and we've got another 2.5 years to go. We've got another 3 years to go as we speak, to provide those new health and care services, evaluate them, and prove that we have a point. But what I was saying is that so Health Region Cologne-Bonn is not just the ecosystem. The ecosystem is more than that. So what else could be part of the ecosystem Rhineland? And here we have to say that we are, I'm based in Cologne, and Cologne is benefiting from both having been close to Bonn and being a quite well connected, infrastructurally speaking, city with trains and an airport and all that. So we still have a few federal agency based in Cologne and in Bonn. BZGA for the health prevention and promotion, BfArM that are actually involved in the, what Andy was mentioning at the beginning, in the certification of the DGAS, of the digital health application. So we do have federal agencies that would be interested or interesting to look into and to integrate into the ecosystem. The topics of the ecosystem for now are similar or identical to the ones of our association, since it's the one that I can legitimately say there is an interest in the region of, but obviously it would also be interesting in looking at maybe what other topics would be of interest to stakeholders that are not part of the association as of now. I added that slide because we were asked to talk about to what extent there had been activities around COVID. So and why I'm adding it is because we have Johnson & Johnson. So we've got Janssen, who is a member, and so obviously they've been very active in in all the activities, but also other non-members, because they're not typically part of the health sector. For example, Lanxess, they started donating disinfectant and hydrochloric liquid to the hospitals in Wuhan. we had other actors here in the region and other companies starting to produce 3D masks and so on and so forth. So there's been obviously also a lot of activity around all that. Again, these are two networks and projects that are part of our ecosystem that are involved in, for example, the clinical virology network looked at the respiratory issues around COVID. So this is also something that we've been following and advertising on our website. We've been promoting the dialogue within or across the stakeholders. And we had an online meeting with a virologist that, if you do live in Germany, you haven't been able to not meet him or hear him on TV, Professor Dr. Streeck, who is he's based at the University Hospital in Bonn. And so we had an online talk, restricted, so it was a members only event, but we had the opportunity to ask him some questions. So this is all from me. I am now looking at chat to see if I do have any questions. There we go. Oh yeah, I should have mentioned, Juan, I see your you also forwarded that to us, obviously, and this is the type of, so Juan Carmona Schneider and the Gesundheitsregion Köln-Bonn, we see each other on a regular basis, and so this is the type of information that Juan, for example, forwarded to us, and we advertise on the website, and so yes, it's true, I should have mentioned, apologies. And I guess the other question wasn't for me, so I will now stop sharing my screen and I will introduce the next speaker. So Yvonne Dauer, as she said herself, is the head of public relations of Medical Valley, and I find it really interesting to have you on board today and to listen more into what you do, because you're huge, and it's obviously it's one of the areas in Germany, and this I really have to say, Cologne-Bonn is kind of an old, it's sometimes rusty, sometimes we feel a bit like a mammoth trying to push innovative themes forward, and this is quite the opposite for Medical Valley, because it's a very innovative, very energetic region, and so it's a great ecosystem. And you do have an enormous number of members that I'm sure you're going to tell us more about in a minute. And you also been awarded the National Top Cluster for Medical Germany by the Ministry of Education and Research back already 10 years ago. So it's a pleasure to listen to you and to have you on board.
Thank you very much, Alexia, for the introduction. So I hope you can hear me loud and clear. If not, just let me know. And thanks again also to Natalia for inviting us. And I'm very happy to be here today and to introduce to you the ecosystem Medical Valley, which is located in the metropolitan region of Nuremberg. As Alexia has already mentioned, we have been appointed National Top Cluster for Medical Technology in 2010 by the Federal Ministry of Education and Research. And because we have a very huge focus on digital health, in 2017, we have become part of the DHub initiative and were appointed Digital Health Hub together with Zollhof and the Health Hackers Erlangen. All right, so let me start with giving you some figures from our ecosystem. At the moment, there are more than 500 companies who are working actively in the field of medical technology. We have more than 65 hospitals, which treat over 850,000 patients each year. Additionally, there are more than 80 institutes at universities and also at universities of applied sciences, and more than 20 non-university research institutions that also carry out research in the field of medical technology. Okay, here you can see an overview of some of our members, partners, and premium partners also. So as you can see, we are working with global players, SMEs, but also startups. And our aim is to connect these players in our ecosystem to enable them to work together side by side, creating healthcare innovations. So there are various activity fields in the Medical Valley, but in particular, there are 4 different activity fields. Those are training and education, which is really very important to us, but also innovation-driven research, business creation and business development. And moreover, we want to help to establish a model region called Medical Valley that has better infrastructures for innovation and also optimized time to market. So relating to those activity fields, we have defined our value proposition, meaning that we are striving for acceleration. We want to accelerate time to market for healthcare innovations. We also want to drive transdisciplinary cooperations of all relevant stakeholders. And by doing this, we want to create a stimulating atmosphere for the development of best-in-class products, health services, and business models. Doing so, we want to attract companies and people from all over the world to start creating their companies here in the Medical Valley. And as I've already said before, we would like to develop Medical Valley to an internationally visible model region to provide optimal healthcare. All right, so again, our basic aim is to enable all relevant actors from the ecosystem, from industry, from science and research, from politics, but also citizens and of course, healthcare providers to work together and to create healthcare innovations working side by side. Medical Valley contributes to this being a one-stop shop. That means that we accompany startups, SMEs, but also global players really throughout the whole process. So basically we can start from scratch, helping you to create a business plan and then guide you through the whole process, let's say from the creation of the business plan through clinical evaluation up to market access, reimbursement, and also internationalization. All right, so now I would like to give you a really short example of what we do in the ecosystem supporting startups. So there is one startup in our ecosystem that is called Portabiles. And what they did was they developed a gait analysis with wearables for improved care of movement disorders. So this healthcare solution addresses people suffering from Parkinson's disease, still living at home and needing assistance. So what you can see here is the sensor that they developed. It can be attached to a shoe. And this sensor analyzes the gait of the patient, measuring the steps, the height, and the length. Because you see, any alterations of the gait can indicate irregularities that mustn't go unnoticed and that need to be checked. So the data is then transferred to a mobile device, to an iPad, whatever, and is then again transferred to the doctor who can, if needed, adjust therapy. So first there is the gait analysis throughout the day. Then there is the diagnosis and the assessment. And then there is, if necessary, a therapy adjustment. Benefits are that it's really simple and objective because you have data. It's really fast. And so in the end, you have a better treatment, you have a better medication, and above all, it's a faster medication adjustment. So all in all, it sums up in a higher quality of life. Okay, here again, you can see an example of such a gait analysis report. So we have the number of gate sequences, we have the number of steps throughout the day. Here you can see the length of the steps, speed, and the angle as well. Okay, if you want more information on Portabiles, of course, you can visit the website. Okay, as I've said in the beginning, we have been appointed Digital Health Hub in 2017, among other hubs, but we are the only one that focuses exclusively on digital health. So in 2019, there has been the founding of the DMAC, the Digital Health Application Center, which is a very important part of our ecosystem, and which on the one side is a research project to develop a modular digital health ecosystem. But on the other side, it's also a digital health company. And being a digital health company, DMAC basically supports you throughout the whole DIGA route, including fast track and so on. So that means they offer different services, for example, market access, but they also support you with a very complex procedure of reimbursement. They can help you with the design of studies and the execution of studies also. They can provide you with data access, economic evaluation, and of course with the establishment of new core care concepts. Okay, as Alexia already said, we have been asked to name a few projects that have been established in our ecosystem during the COVID-19 crisis. We are very happy and proud to say that there have been quite a few. So you can find a summary of them on the website of the Metropolitan Region of Nuremberg. And Medical Valley, furthermore, has supported the initiative Startups Against Corona. You can find an overview right here. All right, so that's it, basically. Yeah, thank you very much for your attention. And if there are any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch. I'm very happy to answer all of your questions. Okay, so yeah, now I have the pleasure to introduce to you the next speaker, which is Natalia Korchakova-Heeb. She is Managing Director of SDG 17 Consulting GmbH. And yeah, she has worked for more than 14 years in the European Commission and developed a very good international network. And yeah, because she is a true networker, she brings together various ecosystems, networks, and she helps to create additional value around sustainable health solutions. She's also a member of various working groups such as Global Health Hub Germany, German Health Alliance, and she also established a platform that is called PPP Health4All. Okay, so have fun, Natalia.
Thank you very much. I will start my presentation. And my presentation will be built around these topics. The company SDG 17 Consulting GmbH, which I have a pleasure to represent today, Health4All ecosystem, SDG benchmarks for digital health, relevant ecosystems, and next steps. Yvonne already introduced me. I'm Managing Director of company SDG 17 Consulting GmbH, founder of PPP Health4All. I'm an engineer by my background. I have a degree in environmental management and also master in intellectual property rights. And I'm coordinating a working group on digital health solutions within Global Health Hub Germany. And the company which I represent called SDG 17 Consulting GmbH, where SDG 17 stands for Sustainable Development Goal 17, which is about partnerships. And it's based in Frankfurt am Main, state of Hesse, Germany, and advocates policies and practices that encourage the development of low carbon, climate resilient, sustainable healthcare infrastructure. And our focus is on sustainable health, and in particular on SDG number 3, health and well-being. But of course, we also think that other SDGs are relevant for our work. The reduce inequalities, gender equality, and industry innovation and infrastructure, just to name the few. And digital health solutions, of course, support sustainable development goals and universal health coverage. And they actually basically enable towards better health and better coverage. So our work is organized around 3 pillars: sustainable development goals, sustainable infrastructure and public-private partnerships, and sustainable and innovative healthcare. And I think it's important to say that the digital health solutions, it's our future. It goes without saying. And it's not only about telemedicine, e-health, or mobile solutions. What is also we realized during COVID-19, it's also about health surveillance and disaster response. Also, we know good examples about tracking tools, analytical tools that are very, very helpful in these times. So our social engagements, we are supporter of Alliance for Climate and Development, which is an initiative of government of Germany. We're signatory of the Pledge of Healthcare Climate Challenge, Healthcare Without Harm. We're a member of UN Sustainable Building and Construction Program and signatory of the Women Empowerment Principles promoted by UN Women and United Nations Global Compact. So today we have a birthday. Today Health4All ecosystem is born, and we, in the name of our distinguished speakers that were representing their ecosystem, we have a good faith, which were giving us good wishes and basically impetus for development of our ecosystem. And just before I start presenting our ecosystem, I just want to briefly describe the current context, which I think it's very important. In last year, Germany has approved the Digital Care Act, which is basically a breakthrough in the digital health. It will allow to improve healthcare provision in Germany through digitalization and innovation and open new avenues, of course. And what was already mentioned today, just last month, Germany has took the presidency in the Council of the European Union, and it's announced already its priorities, for instance, combating corona pandemic. And in this regard, of course, the digital solutions are very, very instrumental. And another priority with regard to the digital technologies, it's human-centric artificial intelligence for healthcare. You heard already 4 presentations today from other speakers, and you realize that every ecosystem is unique. And of course, our Health4All ecosystem here in Hessen will be also unique, and we have to develop its own agenda. But the purpose of this ecosystem is to map local digital health solutions in Hesse with focus on digital health, and which has potential for internationalization. To learn about latest developments and innovations in the digital health, to identify digital health innovators for potential partnerships, and to inform the members of the ecosystem about opportunities, forthcoming calls for tenders, competition, policy developments, etc. Who could be a member of our ecosystem? I would say just basically everyone who could who has a connection to digital health. It's first of all, of course, it's a private sector, technology developers, healthcare providers, healthcare professionals, health insurance groups, and health funders, non-state actors, non-governmental organizations, faith organizations, foundations, donor aid agency, development banks, universities, research institutions, and most important is the patients and the general public. And why in Hesse? Oops, sorry. Well, Hessen health industry is a dynamic growing industry. Hesse is also an important player in German health industry. We have number of relevant initiatives here, just to name the few initiatives: Gesundheitsindustrie Hessen, Competence Center for Telemedicine and E-Health, House of Pharma, Competence Center for Gesundheitswirtschaft Rhein-Main, Gesundheit region Nordhessen, Health Shapers, Frankfurt Innovation Center. We have very big companies, Fresenius, B. Braun, Melzinger, Merck, etc. We also, Hesse is very strong in terms of digitalization. We have Tech Quartier, House of IT. We have a developed digital strategy. And as a business location, Hessen is characterized by vibrant cluster landscape, more than 30 corporations with total of more than 1,000 participating companies listed in the portal. And just to name some relevant cluster is individualized immune intervention, technology, and innovation medicine region Mittelhessen. We're also thinking that in those difficult times, it most probably would be a good idea to have as a priority COVID-19 and also try to map existing solutions which Hesse could offer in tracking and understanding the spread of virus, ensuring patients get the care they need and frontline workers get essential supplies and information. It of course all create opportunities for the private sector, civil society groups and community groups to work alongside and to share their expertise and resources. And I think it's a part of ecosystem to share this information and to develop new solutions. And I would like also to mention some other ecosystems. For instance, my company is also founder of global platform PPP Health4All, which is a global ecosystem of health stakeholders, not only digital health, but health in general. And we're working already with 30 countries and 20 countries representatives already members of this ecosystem. And earlier this year, we won a prize from Global Health Hub Germany, and were named one of the top 20 projects by Global Infrastructure Hub, which is G20 initiative. Another very important ecosystem, which we're also a member of and managing the working groups on the digital health solutions, is the Global Health Hub Germany. This is the ecosystem mainly of German stakeholders, but also open, of course, to international players. And leading companies, leading institutions are member of this network. It's open to everyone. And I also would like you to use this opportunity to invite you to join Global Health Hub Germany. And as I mentioned, there is a working group on digital health solutions, and we see a lot of synergy and possible synergy effect between those initiatives. Another ecosystem is the German Health Alliance. is basically international voice of German health industry. It has more than 100 members. It was not possible to fit all the members on this page, so I just mentioned a few of them related to the medical technology. And German Health Alliance is the initiative of government of Germany. It's also very important ecosystem which we could cooperate with. Why I'm mentioning this? Because I think our ecosystem is not alone. We would like to cooperate with other ecosystems, horizontally, vertically, with other ecosystems here in Germany, Medical Valley, Gesundheit region, Köln, Bonn, represented today, also with our colleagues from Spain, from UK, from other ecosystems which are part of European Connected Health Alliance, and with German Health Alliance and PPP Health4All. Well, I was talking about sustainable development goals, and I think it's very important to set some benchmarks. I think it's very important when we are designing digital health solutions, thinking about who is going to be the final users, because there is a big issue of digital inclusion, and the problem is that the people who most probably should benefit from digital solutions are least likely actually have a digital literacy and online. 1 in 5 people lack basic digital skills, and 1 in 11 have never been online. So there is a huge digital divide for old people, for minority groups, also for people with certain social status. There is a gender divide as well. So when we're designing digital health solutions, we have to think about it. And I would like to mention actually Canada in this regard, because they set up a certain procedure how to integrate gender and other kind of digital inclusion policies when the digital solutions are designed. We were talking about digital inclusion. There is a number of methodologies available how to avoid the gender divide. And of course, very important to make sure that the digital solutions don't contribute to segregation, because you know, people who have a last version of iPhone, it's probably easier for them to use those technologies. But as soon as your phone is outdated, then you are automatically excluded. So I think we should think how to make the digital solutions affordable and accessible for everyone. So what are the next steps for our ecosystem? How we see it? It's very open, and it will be bottom-up approach, and it's up to us to design the way we want it and which priorities we will have in mind, whether it will be virtual reality or the e-health or mobile health or aging. It's up to us to decide. It's very open. Please send your suggestions. It probably will be driven by the actors present in the ecosystem. The commitment that we are taking is to facilitate this ecosystem. We will organize at least twice a year meetings of the members of the ecosystem, always free of charge. We will, of course, connect to other ecosystems here in Hessen and in Germany and beyond. And we will try to promote sustainable digital health solutions, human-centric and SDG compliant. And of course, we want to be very inclusive to accommodate all members and partners willing to participate. So even if you're not reside in Hessen, but you would be interested to cooperate with a companies here, or you have interest just to be integrated and to learn, we're happy to accommodate you as well. So thank you for your questions. Sorry, thank you for your attention. And let me check the chat whether we have any questions. No. Then at the end of the our session, we will have a question and answers separate session. And now I have a pleasure to introduce another speaker, Lucas Schmidt. He represents Tech Quartier, actually where we are based right now. And Lucas is the head of innovation products. And he was studying in University on Mannheim and University of Darmstadt. And before joining Tech Quartier, he worked for some big companies like Siemens and Merck, if I'm correct. And I'm actually member of Tech Quartier, and I'm very happy to be here and could only say very good things about Tech Quartier. Lucas, the floor is yours.
Perfect. Thank you very much for the introduction. Could you kindly stop sharing, then I can share my presentation then. But thank you very much for, first of all, for this great introduction. I'm really happy to be here on today's event, and also happy to support this great initiative that I believe has great potential for the region. 1 second, we will clarify that. I have the great pleasure to sit with Natalia here in one room, so we will quickly clarify.
Yeah, please.
Perfect.
It's the big red button.
You're still sharing? We'll continue in a second, wait. Perfect, thank you for... So I hope you see my screen. So as I said, I'm really happy to be here. I think when Natalia approached me a couple of weeks ago for joining this event, I didn't hesitate very long to participate, because I think this is a great initiative as one of our community team members. And even though my background is more in the clean tech and innovation area, I think sustainability is one topic that I have a great passion for. So I think this topic has a great potential here. And as I said, this is why I'm happy to be here. When I prepared for the event, there were two topics in the news that perfectly describe why I believe this topic is so relevant, and especially why it's so relevant that we have initiatives such as the launch today to foster innovation here in Germany. The first one was the IPO of CureVac. I think you as the experts in the health area know better than me that this is a great sign also for German innovation, that we have a global market, a global company here, which is has success internationally on solving one of the biggest health crises that we had so far. So I think this is a great sign. The second one was the announcement of Elon Musk for Neuralink. I think this is some further topic that shows, for me as someone that is not that deep into the health area, that there is so many more topics to discover, that we need innovation, that we need ecosystems such as here today to foster new innovation, to approach topics like diseases for cancer, for mental diseases, and there is still so much to go. I think these two news really summarize why I believe, even though not coming completely from the health industry, this is such a relevant topic and why we need innovation for it. So yeah, this is basically my main motivation to be here. And what I, instead of focusing more on what we do now, what I would like to show you is to present you more insights into our ecosystem here in Frankfurt, to show you what this ecosystem is about and how we can leverage this initiative and this launch today to foster innovation in this region with this great potential that Natalia already described a little bit. So to do that, I would focus on our journey, or describe to you where we're coming from, and to show you what this ecosystem here in Frankfurt and Hessen is about, and how we did it. So Tech Quartier was launched in 2016, so almost 4 years ago, with the idea to bring in, to foster the innovation in the fintech area and to establish a startup ecosystem here. Why we did it is because we saw great potential in the financial industry. Of course, we have many banks, as you see, we have a lot of fintechs already in this system. But what is most important, what we already heard a lot from other speakers, is we need not only startups and corporates to bring them together, we need a whole ecosystem consisting of scientists, researchers, talents, investors. And I think, as you see here, this region in Hessen overall has great potential with amazing universities and research institutes, but also has the infrastructure to provide investment and so on. So this is also why over the past years, we evolved further than only having a focus on finance in the industry. We evolved to an ecosystem that also focuses more on sustainability, which I'm really happy about because it's one of my passions. So Natalia already showed there, beside the financial industry, we have great corporates here in the region and also among Hessen, some such as Merck, Sanofi, some great pharma industries and medical companies. But we also have the talents and the science and the research with universities such as TU Darmstadt, which Nico Höller, for example, is about, who will present after me, from one amazing startup here from the region. But beside only the universities, we also have, if we expand, we have universities also such, not only focusing on Hessen, such as Mainz and Heidelberg, which are one of the leaders in the medicine industry or medical industry. So I think there's still a lot of potential that we can leverage in this region, which is also focusing and goes beyond the financial industry. And this is, as said, why I'm happy to have them or this launch today. So in that journey, as I said, we evolved further than only being a financial industry over the past years, in only 4 years. And this is, I think, also a sign what I would like to see more initiatives and more industries such as the healthcare, and would be happy to have this emergence here. Our current ecosystem, as you see, has grown to over 288 startups. We have many good partners in there that are not only the banks anymore, we have also other great partners, which I'll come to back in a few seconds. But overall, we also have here this thriving ecosystem with a lot of events. We foster innovation. We also have the support by politics. And I think now is also a good time to leverage this even more, to bring in this into the healthcare ecosystem. So looking, for example, at our partner system, as you saw already, we now have partners like IBM, we have Eintracht, but we also have the banks. So we see, or Fraunhofer, so we see that this area is not only about financial industry anymore. We have the potential to use this leverage to foster or to get more partners on board. And what I'm looking for is like to see also some more corporate partners. I think Merck is already heavily involved in innovation. I think many other companies as well. But I think with collaboration, we can drive that even more. So this from that side. Furthermore, here you see an insight into our ecosystem currently as it is for startups. So even though I said we have great potential, for example, from our side, I must be honest and show, you see there is a split up of 32% of fintechs, but we already saw a great potential for green tech startups. So this is what I said with the journey getting into more direction to sustainability. I'm happy about that progress. Still, what we also see, for example, at least from our split of our company, there's only 2% of life science startups currently in our community. So I think this whole potential that I described and that we already saw from Natalia already here is still like we can do more about it. And I'm happy to support Natalia and this Health4All launch today to get more partners involved, get more startups involved, to really push this region to also get into this area, which is, I believe, as some of the current crisis shows, one of the biggest challenges and also topics for the next decade, beside, for example, climate change. And this is, I would like to see Hessen and with initiatives like today to push this broad. Furthermore, I'm still happy that we already saw some great example like Medical Valley and also Alexia, that we see that there is already a great movement and great potential here in Germany. And of course, as also Natalia said, it's not only about pushing up or building up an ecosystem only for Hessen, it's about building up an ecosystem for Germany and connecting these ecosystems to really work together on these issues with the end goal of having bringing sustainability forward. And I think yeah, this is why I'm really happy to support her, and can only bring up the call to action that partners should come together, come to us, and also to Natalia if they want to push this topic further with us and establish more events here in the region and collaborate. So this overall said, again, to summarize, thank you very much for having me here. And now I would like to, coming from the, okay, what our ecosystem is about, to get more, to show you some real cases, I would like to hand over to Nico Höhler if there are no further questions so far. Let me check. Are there any questions? Nope. Otherwise, like I said, I would like to hand over to Nico to give you an example of one of the great startups here in the health industry. He is CEO and the founder of Tech4Med, and I give the stage to you, and thank you very much for having me here.
Thanks a lot, Lucas, for the kind words. And actually, yeah, it's a little bit sad that there's only a few life science and healthcare companies in the...
You are mute.
I'm on mute. Actually...
No, you're not. Please continue. I can hear you.
Sorry.
She's
okay,
turned
perfect.
her headphones off.
Okay, good. All right then. Yeah, it's actually sad that we only have a few startups in the tech quartier and within the community, because it's actually a great community and we really get a lot out of it. And it would be great to see some further startups in our ecosystem soon. So I highly recommend to come and join. And yeah, let me just briefly introduce ourselves and what we are doing, just to give you an impression of what already exists within the ecosystem. And then maybe this is motivating you to join the community. I'm just, let me just see where I can put this to full screen. There you go. So basically what Tech4Med is providing, we are building providing smart pharma supply chain solutions, because what we see in the industry is that within the pharma supply chains, there are direct costs of more than $35 billion just because of a lack in the correct delivery in the right temperature range, because actually 20% of all pharmaceuticals, which are highly sensitive in terms of their temperature regulation, reach their destination degraded. And this leads to this large amount of direct costs involved to a proper supply chain. And even if the medication is delivered correctly to the patient, back then 50% of the patients store their temperature sensitive drugs incorrectly. And that actually causes a lot of damage. And what we are doing at Tech4Med, we are providing end-to-end supply chain visibility and also solutions to help to maintain the correct temperature range. And basically where we start is already in the supply chain at the manufacturer level and the pharma logistics level, going down through the whole supply chain, which could be then pharma retail or logistic hubs, going further to pharmacies, hospitals, clinical trial centers, and last but not least, on the last mile directly to the patient. And how we do that is, first of all, we have a very secure storing solution that we just recently developed, the Nelum box, which is basically a small refrigerator that can also heat and maintain the temperature anywhere between 0 to 70 degrees Celsius, and that for up to 48 hours on one charge. And where we see that is basically in a clinical trial environment, or for rare diseases, or for very complicated drugs that need a proper storage condition. And we use it as a stationary solution at the patient's home or in a clinic or hospital, but also as a mobile solution, for example, for last mile deliveries, for nurses carrying the medication to the patient, or in ambulances or emergency cars. But this is just a specialty solution for really highly advanced biologicals, drugs for oncology, rare diseases, etc. If we talk about the larger supply chain, which basically also targets the commercial drugs, we have just recently connected another technology to our cloud environment, which is the SmartUp and Smart Beacon. The SmartUp and Smart Beacon is basically a real-time tracking device to maintain proper temperature control, and it can be used, for example, on the right-hand side in those types of parcel shippers, which then maintain the correct temperature, but it can also be used for example, containers or pallets. How it works is we have a gateway that can be connected to a warehouse or to your truck or to any pallet. And then this gateway connects to smaller beacons, which are then put into each parcel or, let's say, cold chain box. And with this solution, we can basically connect all of the logistics data in real time to the cloud. So you have full control of all relevant data, such as temperature, humidity, air pressure, shock, and of course, the geolocation. All of our systems, not only the Nylon box, but also the SmartUp and Smart Beacon, are always connected to our cloud system, which then monitors all of the relevant data. And we're currently about to also put predictive analytics and further AI functionalities to our dashboard, so we can not only monitor the overall supply chain, but also to predict risks on several different lanes. And especially during COVID-19, we will see that the pharma cold chain is playing a larger and larger role. I mean, if we will hopefully get the right vaccination against COVID-19 soon, we will see that especially this drug will definitely be transported at a temperature range of 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. And this will be a big supply chain challenge to actually provide this solution to basically any of us around the globe, and therefore a lot of logistics companies are already preparing, and at that point we will have a much greater focus on the cold chain logistics in the pharmaceutical area as well. And we only serve the market of pharmaceuticals, starting from the logistic companies up until the small pharmacy, which is delivering on the last mile. So if you have any application area in that field, feel free to contact me. So therefore, I want to close with a couple words concerning the ecosystem. It's really great to be here. It's not just that you're really fast, like pretty much anywhere within Europe. It's also that we have a great support here, starting from the early angel investors that supported us, then the university network, and of course, the Tech Quartier and also other institutions. So it's really great to be here, and I can highly recommend to join our community. And yeah, thank you very much for listening today. If you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. And Lucas, thanks again for the kind words. And I hope we work on the same approach to definitely motivate more startups here to join our community. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Nico. I think this was our last speaker, and we could open the question and answers session, if any. Otherwise, I would invite unmute yourself and ask the question, or just give us best wishes for for the, let's say, birthday of our ecosystem. The floor is yours.
Nico has to start, or we can all wish you at the same time.
No, you could, now it's open discussion.
Open.
Everyone would want to speak, could unmute himself and speak.
Well, since I'm on mute, I guess I have to be the first one.
May I ask a question? How in your various networks, how do you make sure that you arrange an atmosphere of trust? how do you bring together the members of your various clusters, that they know who is in the network and who does what, and how do you create this atmosphere of trust?
Gisela, I think it was a question to you. How you create the trust atmosphere?
Sorry, I didn't recognize the name. So one thing that we do take a good care is talking. The communication is key. So we first addressed the users. We went to the patient associations, talked with them, presented the ecosystem, how it works. With the companies, we always sign very strong MOUs and NDAs, because of course, within our collaborative platform, we do have competitors, but we really focus more than in the points that they compete, in the points that they can join together. And then final round was with the regulators. So they would understand what were the needs of the companies and of course the patients in how to address the funding, and be able to work with them, and also kind of become a consultative organization, so that they will come to us to kind of ask us what are their real needs, to a bit filter this connection with regulators that of course due to legal and conflict of interest, it cannot be so open when the tenders are on, of course, but also to get to know better their ecosystem. So trust is a very important thing. And in fact, it's very difficult that the Galician companies actually trust at the beginning, but that's why it takes some years. So important.
Thank you.
Just if I may add a bit more to that, we are sort of, because we are relatively new and learning from this, it is something of a delicate diplomatic initiative, because for example, what we want to do is bring innovations from outside the region, and we need to be particularly very conscious that we should not undermine any local innovations by bringing competition in, so I think there are some sort of delicate discussions to be had in terms of how we can facilitate the overarching goal of improving health and care at scale in the region while not impacting local productivity. So this is something that where we have to build trust among stakeholders, that actually we are working together for the overall benefit of the region, the country, but also the sector, while not undermining something that is could be seen as a threat. So you're right. I think it is. I think with experience, Gisela has over years, she has probably mastered this a bit more. We are still in the learning process, and I think constant discussions, communications with stakeholder groups is something that we are identifying is absolutely important for that.
Thank you.
Sorry, I will add that what I would suggest is that you need one success story. So you have to pick up, I call them nicely, my pet members. So people that you know they trust, and then you kind of work well together, as well as key people in the public administration that really is easy to talk, and then manage to get one or two success stories, then everybody will follow, and the trust will be there. Good luck on that.
Thank you.
And when I would like to end one point, because I think something that was not mentioned, I think key factor is always also relationships. So I think this is what you should really focus on, and a success story could be one way to build up this relationship, because you have one factor, but in the end, I think this is what we saw. Maybe I cannot speak for the health area, but in general, what we see in our innovation ecosystem is,
and especially on this point of relationship, as you're saying, is how do you maintain or build and keep and foster relationships in this lockdown period?
It's definitely a bit more challenging, because it's harder to bring players together. But in the end, what you always need to keep in mind is that on both sides, everyone has his own interests, and you try to bring people still together. Of course, like not always then physically, sometimes more easy, but still, like if you have projects that you can work together on, in the end, you need to build up a relationship. So it will be about, if a startup should cooperate with a company, for example, a corporate, to work together on a project, this will work if it's not about, okay, this is a perfect match, and okay, this is definitely something that both players work on. in the end, it will only work if they sit together and then really both have basically create a win-win situation. And this, I think most of you in the beginning, of course, you can enhance this potential that people come together and create these potential, but to close it and that there is a collaboration and they work together is decided when they come together and work on it. And of course, like I think in the healthcare industry with these patents and long research intensive projects, of course, I believe that's a bit more difficult than in other industries, but that makes it even more relevant, I believe.
Thanks.
Thank you. I would like to invite speakers for a final word. Maybe Gisela, we will start with you, and then in the order of appearance, very final word, just 2 sentences. The floor is yours.
Okay, so I start again my happy birthday and I wish you all the best. I really think you did a great start with this putting together very interesting people, but especially keen to know each other and to work together. And I'm sure you're going to be more than fine. And as Lucas mentioned, it's true. I always say, one sentence that I always say is that entities are people. People are behind those entities. So it's going to be always easier with people like you guys. So hope all the best and keep in touch.
AC?
Thanks, Natalie. I just sort of was about to write on the chat and wrote it. So thanks for inviting and this opportunity to sort of be a participant in your happy birthday celebrations, really, in the launch. And I know how exciting it is because we did it a year back. But like I wrote in the chat, absolutely open to collaborations and sort of more sort of mutual discussions around where the opportunities lie beyond what we said in terms of the areas of interest, but also with other German sort of ecosystems. And we are working with Galicia anyway together, so we can sort of form multinational sort of ecosystem collaborations here. The last thing I would like to see is that somebody mentioned about sort of mapping ecosystem. That's something that we are very interested in, that how do you actually map and build facilitative networks which sustains it beyond a point, because as Gisela was saying, people are behind it. And if we identify the key people who are sort of bridging these networks, we need to sort of try and start getting a bit more insight into that. So any interest around that, please bring in a line and we can see if we can do something together around that.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Natalia.
Thank you. Alexia?
Sure. Well, yes, thanks for having us from up the Rhine. We're not that far away from each other, and I hope we'll have the opportunity to meet each other in person sometime later this year or next year. It's been a pleasure, and I can only join my colleagues saying we're very much interested in collaborating with other German ecosystems, but also obviously other European Connected Health Alliance ecosystems. Otherwise, we wouldn't be part of the network. And I'm very happy to have already received, while we were talking, feedback from participants. And I think it's a great start that you did today, and that allows actually the German platform to come together and have a much better overview of what's happening in one ecosystem and the other. So good luck with all the work waiting for you, and happy to be part of your next event.
Thanks a lot, Alexia. It's very, very inspiring. Yvonne?
Okay, yeah, so thanks again, Natalia, for having us. I think all of us had a great time. And also thanks again for the question of how to build up trust. I think it's very important that all the ecosystems work together, collaborate. Maybe we could even challenge each other a little bit, and therefore build up trust that really helps to shape in the future of healthcare, basically. So thanks again, and I think you really did a great job, and good luck for the future. We are happy to help whenever we can.
Thank you. Lucas?
Yeah, thank you. I try to keep it short. Thank you very much for having the opportunity to speak here. Thanks for this great initiative by you, Natalia, to foster this potentially here in the region. Thank you as well for the other speakers. It was great to see success story like Tech4Med here directly, but also to see the stories of other ecosystems and also especially the ones here in Germany. I'm looking forward to collaborate and to follow up on that initiative. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Lucas. Nico.
Yeah, thanks also from my side. And I can just leave with the words that we already have a great network here, and that as a startup, you don't only have the right to actually participate in those kind of networks, you actually have also the obligation to actively ask for help and to actually use this great community. So use it and ask people and ask for help. And as far as I noticed, everyone is really willing to push your startup and to help you out. So that's great. And that's what I want to close with.
Thank you very much again to everyone for your active participation. The next meeting we will organize in 6 months. Exactly, I checked the schedule, it's 31st of March. So please mark your schedule. And we invite everyone who wants to speak, who want to raise the topic, ask a question. I mean, it's really for us, it's about people, it's about us, what we want to do. And yeah, my best wishes also goes to you, to everyone who make this event very successful. I think it was great. We have very good atmosphere. I leave in this meeting with a very positive energy. Once again, thank you. Until next time.